Hello and welcome to the High Note Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Smith. Hey everybody, it's been a while, right? It's been a while. I feel like I've done that intro many times. Sorry for the long delay in between podcasts. Life happens. The blog is still up if people who like to read want to check out highnoteblog.com. I do new blogs every week and, of course, New Music Friday every Friday. But we're back to talking. Your ears are open. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, if you've gotten this far, please hit the subscribe button because the High Note Podcast is coming back. Going to have a lot more guests and a lot new episodes coming out soon. But for right now, it is Folk Festival season. Of course, I'm talking about the Philadelphia Folk Festival. It was one of the first official, it was the official first column that I wrote for the High Note back when it was a newspaper column in 2013. It was my review of the Philadelphia Folk Festival that year with Trombone Shorty headlining. It was a great festival, and I will put a link to that. There is a link to that already on highnoteblog.com, so check that out. But now, years later, here we are back again, and the Philadelphia Folk Festival took a hiatus last year, but now it is back for the 61st year, August 16th through the 18th at the Old Pool Farm in Upper Salford Township. Honestly, there is nothing like this in the world, and it is one of the highlights of my year every year that I get to attend. So this year, we have performers like Gangsta Grass, John Oates, that John Oates, like Hall & Oates, Tony Triska, the Secret Sisters, who I saw at Firefly in 2014. What a fantastic lineup. What a fantastic band that they are. Absolutely love them. Adam Ezra Group. And, of course, there are two High Note Podcast alumni who are performing this year. The pride of Pictou County, Dave Gunning, and Chris Matthews. So I am absolutely stoked, and you should be too, because since 1962, the Philadelphia Folk Festival has brought emerging artists as well as well-known artists to the Philadelphia region, and honestly, I don't think that there is a better lineup every year. It gets better and better, and I don't think that I could have learned as much about music as I have at the Folk Festival each year, and the friends that I've made throughout the years, honestly, I just can't say enough good things about it. But luckily, my guest, Kimberly Sinclair, who is the media and artistic director, or the marketing and artistic director for the Philadelphia Folk Festival, she joins me for this amazing conversation, and we go through a little overview of the festival, and then we get into some of the finer details, maybe some of the questions that you have. I know that I've had friends. I have my PFF BFFs group, and I got a couple of questions from that. So I asked a couple of those questions there, and people hit me up online. So your questions have been answered. And if you're looking for more information, just check out folkfest.org. That's where you can see the lineup. You can buy tickets, and hopefully I will see you on the hill at the Old Pool Farm August 16th through the 18th. And without further ado, here is my interview with Kimberly Sinclair. Kimberly Sinclair, welcome to the High Note Podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's almost Folk Festival season. Can you believe it?
No, it's crazy. It's coming so fast. We're within the 30-day window, and it's just, it's so exciting.
And I can't believe it has been, gosh, I guess it's been since when was the last time that I saw you? Because it was
2019 at the festival on the actual site. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a couple of years. Yeah, a couple of years didn't happen, so we're just going to not talk about those years. That's before time, as we refer to it.
Well, so Kimberly, I have to ask, so you are I saw that, I think this is a new title for you, right? The Artistic and Marketing Director for the Folk Festival?
Correct. I was hired on in, I think it was December of 2023, right after the board made the decision to present the festival in 2024. So I was part of 3 festival directors that were hired. My other 2 colleagues are Andrew and Michael Braunfeld, who are blind justice.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. But
yeah.
But Kimberly, I feel like I've known you through the festival for a lot longer than that. How did you I'm curious, how did you first find out about the Philadelphia Folk Festival?
Well, as you know, I am an entrepreneur, and I created a music business called Spin Count in on the eastern coast of Canada because I lived in Canada for 20 years. That's a whole nother story. And Eastern Canada is amazing. The amount of talent in Eastern Canada is crazy. Um, so from going to festivals and from pursuing that business, I started to go to international folk festivals where I learned about, and spoke to other colleagues in the music business. And that's where I learned about the Philadelphia Folk Festival. Now, of course, I had heard about it before. It's been around for 60 years. So I definitely had heard of it. And it was one of those in the hierarchy of festivals was sitting right at the top. Philadelphia, Newport, there's just festivals that you hear about and that you know about. And Philly was always one. And then, if you could have told me all those years ago that I would be this involved with them today, I would not have believed you. But life and fate are funny sometimes. And now here I am, handling all of the marketing and the artistic direction of the festival, which basically means I'm responsible for selling tickets, which is a really scary job to be in the music industry these days. But luckily, there's so many fans and so many people who know about the festival, and everyone is just so excited to have us come back after our pause last year in 2023. That we've just been getting messages of support from around the globe, and it's really, really amazing to feel that supported. We have a great community.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm very happy that the folk festival has kept going for all of these years. There was the hiccup last year that the festival
Mhm.
did not happen, but it was amazing to see the way the festival being as old as, so this is the 61st year. So 50 something years in, we're able to transition to an online festival. Really, when everybody was doing that during the pandemic, and I thought those 2 years of online performances were exceptional. I thought they were great.
They were. And I'm so proud of the team who presented those because so many folks with COVID, of course, it was all a brand new era. People didn't know what to do. We didn't know if it was going to last forever, if it was going to last a couple of days, right? So the decision to make that jump and not to take a break and to continue the legacy was really outstanding decision. And they pulled it off beautifully. The performers made the quick jump to, from performing live on stage to performing by themselves, and presenting that. So it was a learning curve and a quick jump for everybody to do that. Um, and those shows they were fabulous. And I'm very proud to have been a part of those behind the scenes, just from, the marketing and helping to promote shows. When it comes to pausing in 2023, I like to use the analogy of ships and a sailing analogy because the good ship Philly Folk Fest had been in the waters for 60 years, had never been taken to dry dock, never had put a fresh coat of paint on it. The barnacles were never scraped off. It was a little leaky. After 60 years, you need some maintenance. So because of that, the directors did have to make, and there's a lot of other things. There was financial situations and such, that we thought it best that we just paused instead of continuing to, float around in a leaky boat, so to speak. And that was a really, really difficult decision. But the other decision was, do we declare bankruptcy or do we try and restructure and build it back from scratch? And I mean, in our mind, it was always, we had to carry the festival forward. We cannot. And so that's what with the community, with the board, it was all volunteer led. I cannot stress enough that the community is responsible for the festival being back. Yes, we had a board of directors. Yes, I was the vice president. Yes, we all volunteered. Nobody was paid for over a year. So this was all truly, it was people's passion that saved the folk festival. It is people's passion that are propelling it, hopefully, to another 60 more years. And being a part of that is probably one of the most rewarding things of my lifetime. It's just been really special to meet and work and create and problem solve with people who were the day before were complete strangers to you. And the one thing you have in common is your love of the festival. And that is something really, really special.
Yeah, oh, there are definitely that is tremendous. I mean, that is I've formed many relationships throughout my years of going to the festival just on that shared, like you said, that
Mhm,
shared love of the festival, which is really
mhm.
is something special. And how does that make you feel carrying on this? This is a pretty big torch of a legacy that you have to carry on. How does that make you feel?
Very humbled, a little bit scared, but also very excited. I think it's all the emotions that you feel, right? At the end of the day, I am just over the moon to be, part of the organization and to be in this position. I don't think it's actually fully hit me yet. Because, once I got hired, we were already behind. So we hit the ground running. Everyone jumped way into the deep end of the pool, and we've kind of been just swimming ever since. So maybe the weekend after I will have time to reflect. But until then, I honestly have just been putting one foot in front of the other. But, I do every once in a while stop to pause. When I look at the names that have been on the stage before, it is incredibly humbling. When you're thinking about Pete Seeger and John Denver and Joan Baez and David Crosby. And I mean, I could just go on and on and on. It is mind blowing, and it's understandable why the festival is held in such high regard and esteem among folk, fans of folk and people in the community.
Yeah, I mean, and there's two sides of that. There's the performance side, which 2019 was an amazing year, right? That was
Mm.
David Crosby. Was that also Margot Price and Amanda Shires for the?
Yes, yes, I've got the video of them side stage singing Ohio. When you've got Amanda Shires and Margot Price doing backup with David Crosby, we were all there just losing our minds. Remember this, Sean? We were like, what is happening? Not me.
I mean, and that was Sunday night. I mean, that was
Yeah.
the last night of the festival, and that was the last time that everybody was on the hill together. And the high note is named the high note for a reason, for going out on the high note. And if you had to take a pause, the way that you did it with that performance, that was definitely a high note to end on for sure.
Well, like I said, the universe works in mysterious ways. Yes, unexpected, but yeah, it was, so that's the energy we're trying to bring back this year. The energy we're trying to bring back is, half known names, or not necessarily even known. I don't even like to phrase it that way. What I'd rather say is people who have performed at the festival before.
Sure.
So almost 50% of the performers are returning to perform again. Some of them multiple times, like Troni Trishka, right? But I know that Jess Klein, just off the top of my head, the last time she performed was in 2007. So we're bringing her back for 2024. So whether it was last year, sorry, not last year, 2022, excuse me, when Chris Matthews played, Chris is coming back again. So, I've got some performers, like about half of them, that are returning. And then the other performers are emerging discoveries, or maybe performers that have yet, like John Oates. In his career, this will be the first time he's performing at the Folk Festival. And so this is really exciting for us, even though he's from Philly and his father still lives there. The headliners, Gangster Grass, they're Philly based. So we really did look to our own backyard, so to speak, when we were looking for performers to play this year. And I'm very excited with the lineup that has come together, because, we were late and our budget wasn't huge, but man, I want to say that we rocked it. I hope everybody else agrees.
I'm particularly happy. Well, Chris Matthews is a friend of the podcast. I saw her in 2019. I think it was a stage with Steve Poltz. I think I was waiting to interview either Steve Poltz or another friend of the podcast, the pride of Pictou County, Dave Gunning, who you introduced me to. Actually, I think when I went to text you about this interview, I think that was the last text that I sent you, was that I just finished up with Dave. So
Oh,
yeah.
small world. Yeah. And of course now Dave's coming back too. Yeah. And the lineup, like, like I said, I've been in the music industry for a while now. So I go to these international conferences even before I was part of Philly. So, what's cool about that is that a lot of these folks I've watched come up the ranks, like Chris is a perfect example. I first saw Chris Matthews do a NERFA showcase, and man, it must have been 2017, 2018, something like that.
Wow.
So to see her career progress, because her songs just stand out to you. And they rattle around in your head. And so that name stuck out to me. So, it felt like that is just so exciting. I've known, because I lived on the East Coast of Canada, I had to bring Dave Gunning back with JP Cormier. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with JP, but that man can play anything with strings. And I didn't say that. Bill Monroe said that.
Wow.
So JP is one of these child prodigies that went down to Nashville probably before he could walk and can play anything. And he is, a legacy, a legend. Maybe a legacy and a legend, maybe both. Up in Nova Scotia, where he's from. He's from Cape Breton. And so we're gonna have a Canadian showcase, which people from the festival are used to. And I'm bringing in Jean-Vito Brichette from Montreal, Kathy and Maggie, who have played the festival several times. Also, two sisters from Nova Scotia. They're coming. Angelique Francis Band, a Discovery. They're coming from Ottawa. I got to work with them for the Canadian Folk Music Awards, and they're going to play the Martin Stage on Sunday night. And all these Canadians, if you aren't familiar with them, you can go to our website and check them out. But that reminds me of other workshops. We're bringing back workshops that folks who are used to the festival will be familiar with. We're bringing back a sing workshop. We will have a Martin guitar workshop, which is new. Andy's putting that together. I'm thrilled to share that the Extreme Folk team is presenting a stage this year. So they will have, the newest in folk punk, I believe, is how they describe it, which is super exciting because the way my son said, he said, Mom, these folks look like the way you dressed in the 80s, but the music is super cool. So I was like, all right, I like that. I don't know if you want to use that online, Tom, but that is how my son described it.
That's
so
high praise. That's almost Bill Monroe level.
Exactly. Like that, like if a 20-year-old says that, that is gospel, right?
Yes.
Hashtag truth. So in other words, there's something for everybody. There's going to be another new state called Live from Godfrey Daniels. So we're reaching out to the community, and we're, partnering with venues and stages and other organizations, to cross-pollinate, in an attempt to get new folk voices and faces out into the world and introduce them to our community. Now, and like I was saying, there's the people that are returning. There's also the children's performers, which I can't forget. We're going to have, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we'll be presenting activities. Performers like Miss Rachel, Two of a Kind are going to be there. Mr. David C. Perry's going to be there. So, your kids will be taken care of. We like to think that Fest is a family affair, which, I guess, Sean, should we talk about the other side of the festival, which is the camping scene?
Yes, I've been waiting to ask about that, because that is the other legacy, is that the folk festival it's kind of, it's hard to describe, but the way that I've had it described to me is that it is the last of the Woodstock era of that type of atmosphere. And it is a legacy that's carried on. And honestly, I don't think that the campground has changed very much over all of these years. And I think that was the only thing, as great of a job that the board did and that the Folk Song Society did during the pandemic years. That was the only thing that was missing. Sure, we had the community boards and we had the message boards, and, everybody had their little text groups going and stuff like that, which was cool. But that, walking around the campground, seeing the sights, as it were, interacting with different people, that was the thing that I think people missed. And I've been going to the festival since 2008. That was my first year. And even then, I had met people who were practically born at the festival. Many
Mhm.
generations of people. So how and I have seen a couple of photos here and there on social media showing things getting set up for the festival. So how is the campground the whole campground looking?
So what happened? So yeah, those are two different questions. So first, I can tell you how the site is actually being built right now. Our grounds crew, our graphics crew, and I think security. There's several crews on there, camping for sure, who are building right now. What that means is they are unpacking everything that's been in storage. They're checking it to see, if it's still usable, and then they're building it, putting all the signs up, putting all the logos up, making sure that the stages are decorated, all that stuff. So that is happening now because they moved in a month before. So the tradition is July 4th weekend is they mow the field and then everyone goes to the farm to set up. So that is happening right now.
Wow.
It's very exciting. I was like, we need a time lapse. We need a drone. We love it. And they're like, please stop. We also need to build the site. So I was like, yes, that's fair. So, so excited.
And it's amazing because these people have been, many of these folks have had these jobs for years, or
Yeah.
their parents were part of it, or family members, and they've been doing it for, decades, if not longer.
Yeah. And that is the other side of this coin. So when you come to the campsite, both you are correct. Some campsites have been there for 60 years. Campsite names and locations get passed down. It's almost like a rent-controlled apartments in New York City. It's the same type thing. That doesn't mean that new campsites aren't being built every year, because they are, and new memories and new experiences are being built. But you can trace it back all the way to when the festival was first held on the old Pool Farm, which to me is fascinating. Now, as the person who is involved in the music, I was shocked to learn that I had not even entered the campsite in 2019. I thought I had gone through it, but apparently that was Dulcimer Grove. What did I know, Sean? Nothing. I didn't find out until afterwards that there was an entire camp situation that I didn't even know about. And then I was shocked to find out that some people go camping and never even come over to the music side.
Oh yes.
So, right, there are several different cultures going on there. So if you love to camp, I gotta say, this is the place to bring your family. This is the place to come in and camp for the weekend and meet some of the best people you'll ever meet. And you don't even have to listen to the music, because they will come to your campsite, as I understand, right, Sean, and play
Oh.
music all night long.
It
It's
is.
amazing.
It is. Trombone Shorty did a New Orleans march through the campsite. I think I saw something that year on Instagram that they were going at like 2, 3 a.m. And then of course there's what there always was. Is there a front porch stage this year? Is there a festival stage in the campground this year?
That is coming back, but it's going to be Charlie Miller. It's going to be sign up, as I understand
Oh
it. So every
yes.
night you
Yep.
sign up. Yeah. So Charlie Miller is back. So that is a festival legacy that is returning.
That's
So
amazing.
that's one of those things we're like, yeah, we're doing that. Oh, and the contra dancing's coming back. I forgot about that. That's Saturday night.
Love contra
Which
dancing.
is, yeah, you don't even need a partner. You just show up. It's like non-social dance. It's amazing. Yeah, and the Great Growth Band, they're practicing. We're having the kids concert Sunday, and then we're having a gospel concert Sunday. Then we're having the Celtic afternoon. So, all the things that people know and love about Fest, we're bringing back, and then we're just, adding some new, layers on top of the delicious cake. Is that another metaphor?
Oh
It is.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's a good one. It's a tasty metaphor too. And
Good.
and the amenities in the campground have since I had first started going, had improved year over year. I think there originally was like the general store, and they were always out of ice. And then right, and then I think the first year I went it was really hot, and the second year I went it was raining the entire time. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
But then I think in 2019 I was up there and I had a great sandwich from the Lions Club. I was amazed of the vendors, of the amount of vendors, and also I think I saw there were showers there. I mean, was like a whole other ball game from when I had first ventured into the campground a decade before. And it really was just a campground back then, really.
Yeah, it's true. It has like full service, right? So you can rent a shower and they have shower services. You buy a ticket, you get a shower. The ice, which is always a hot commodity in the field. Getting bags of ice this year. I think it's going to be an 8 pound or a 20 pound bag. So get your tickets. Don't let your ice melt. Yeah. So general store, any food, any commodities that you need. How it's been planned, they set up all these amenities so folks don't have to leave. The whole idea is that you spend time on the farm and you don't have to leave. And that's how Fest is set up. We've got a couple of new things that are going to help people communicate this year. We're going to have an app where we're going to put all the craft vendors, because don't forget, we have like between 30 and 40 craft vendors that come, makers that come and sell their wares. The food vendors are going to be there too, speaking of excellent sandwiches. And all of that is going to be in our app with an interactive map. So anybody who wants, if you are a person who has your phone in the hand all the time and you want to know the schedule, then you will use the app. If not, we are printing out the program books like we always did. So we're trying to meet all the technological for zones here at the festival this year.
Oh, that's great. And yeah, like you said, I mean, you can just camp out. It seemed in years past I always went up after the concert and went to the front porch stage to see people perform there at the bonfire, get a little late night snack. But then you would walk around and there would be people performing. The Philadelphia Jug Band has a huge tent. They've been doing that for years, but it seemed like I've seen everything from full drum kits. I've seen upright basses. I've seen all sorts of instruments being played throughout the festival. And then people, with the larger instruments, people kind of just congregate around. Or, people who are a little more mobile, right, with a guitar or a ukulele or something like that, or a banjo. They will go from site to site, jam here for a little bit, jam there for a little bit, go get something to eat or drink, grab something, and then go to another campsite. And it really was a tremendous, I think that was somebody, I can't remember, I interviewed somebody, but they said that was the aspect of the festival that they didn't understand before, and they had always heard about, that this is like the ultimate jam. If you're into jamming with people, if you're into playing music, bring your instrument and be ready to play, because there will be opportunities throughout the weekend.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. That is absolutely true. The culture and the campsite is everybody plays and sings together. Whether you are, to your point, trombone shorty, or whether, you just brought your banjo in and you just play it on the weekend, doesn't matter. Everybody is welcome. Everyone is included, and everybody does move around. And there's mobile jams. We'll have to see what the fire situation is in Montgomery County when we get there. But if campfires are allowed, we have specific rules for that. But if not, to your point, everyone can go to the front porch stage where we have a facilitated campground. So all these opportunities are there. People do sleep all day long. People stay out all night. But for anybody who wants to get up early in the morning, we are going to have yoga every morning. And we're also new this year going to have a sound healing class in the morning. So we're trying to, whether you're a late night jammer or an early morning yoga person, or maybe you're both, maybe you're 20 and you can pull all of it off, unlike me. But, in other words, we have things 24/7 that folks can experience. And, we try and cover all bases to make sure that this is an experience that will be enjoyed by ages, demographics, whatever, that everyone will have something to love at the folk festival.
Yeah. And, to that point, you've been doing this for 60 years. So the demographic, you do see all ages of people, which I think is very cool. You see little kids, which is nice. There is a quiet camping area, a large quiet camping area, which I think is cool. So people, who actually do want to get some sleep, can do that.
Yes.
Which, sometimes might seem hard, although after you spend a day up on the hill, it is easy to fall asleep just about anywhere, whether it be in Dulcimer's Grove, or just taking a nap on the hill. But it's great that you have the quiet camping and also the golf carts, the accessibility. There's the handicap parking, which goes all the way up to the front of the festival, and then you have golf carts for people. So yeah, how do you? I mean, I think I just saw today that you were doing a special for first time campers who are college students, where they get a percentage off, right?
Yeah, what we did, and unfortunately that did end yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But it was a way for us to introduce new folks. And we were offering discount codes for first timers. So it was 50% off for college students, 25% off for anybody else. And I'm waiting on the numbers to see how successful we were, but it's just part of our attempt to say that the folk festival is for everybody. It's not, you didn't have to be born there. You didn't have to be raised there to get it. If you are looking for, just a festival atmosphere from jugglers to, a French fry truck to gangster grass to John Oates on the main stage and everything in between, the folk festival is for you. I want to emphasize families because we have a volunteer culture as well. And within that volunteer culture, there are certain committees that specialize in offering childcare during the day. So if you're like, oh, I'd love to volunteer, but I can't because I have young kids, don't worry, we got you. Just you need to be hooked up with the right committee. So, again, there's so many bits and pieces of the festival that even I don't know all of the moving parts yet. And I ask so many questions and I drive people crazy because I'm like, but how does this work? And they're like, oh, well, so and so, it's just one of these things. It's institutional knowledge that the committee chairs, the volunteers, the attendees, they all know. So it's almost like, to me, it's like going to Rocky Horror for the first time. You kind of, you're going to have to be, inducted, introduced rather, or like when you go to Newfoundland in Canada for the first time. You tell everybody this is your first time in Newfoundland. They pull out a cod, the fish, and you have to kiss it, and then you have to do a shot of rum. That's how they call it getting screeched in Newfoundland. I don't think the festival, is that strict, but you are going to be welcomed. You will feel welcome. And the phrase that everybody says all weekend is happy. And they mean it from the bottom of their hearts. It's just a really special festival. And I can't wait to see everybody back on the farm, which, by the way, I learned is 84 acres. That's why we're so tired all the time. It's an 84-acre farm, Sean. That's crazy.
And it's hard to see all of it. I mean, we had mentioned Dulcimer's Grove, but is that where traditionally that was where the children's stage was? Is that where it's going to be set up this year?
Yes, that's where the jugglers and where all the parasols and where all the hammocks are set up. So it's on your way between the Martin stage and the camp stage.
And it's a great spot. I mean, it's in the shade. Like you said, the hammocks are there, so you can catch a quick nap. And the jugglers are incredible, and the kids' performances are really nice too. I've hung out and caught a few kids' performances. I think I saw a puppet show one year, and yeah, absolutely. And it really is. I mean, you really do see all ages there. So how is it now trying to get some of these older folkies around with the golf carts and trying to accommodate them? Because I'm sure that they are maybe one of the louder audience members now. Maybe not so much sitting down in the chairs listening to the show, but maybe online and getting that type of feedback.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. We are making changes as folks get older and as the landscape changes for the climate as well. So some changes we have made is we have changed the golf cart route, where now we're going to have the tram cart pick people up in that the main lot by the main gate and then drive them to the main gate. So in other words, if you park in that lot, you won't have to walk all the way through to the festival gate. It's not that far, but if you have mobility issues, anywhere is far, right?
Sure.
So that's a new change that we're having that will be reflected in the map and also on our campsite. We may have a streaming ticket for those folks at home. We are working that out right now. We are getting more requests for handicap or folks with disabilities parking. So we are addressing that and putting more information on where those accessible parking spots are and how to reserve one if you need to. So all of that information is up on our website. We are talking about more fans. We're talking about how to educate folks about heat stroke if it gets too hot, because that is a reality. Everybody needs to slow down in the heat. So these are the type things that we're taking into account. Change is slow, especially when you're dealing with an outdoor 84-acre festival with hills. Some of my older directors tell me that it's not their knees, it's actually the hills that are getting steeper, and I think that's actually true. I feel getting longer and steeper. But so we're trying to make changes to accommodate everyone of all age, and it's slow, but we are taking that into account and trying to make it as accessible for folks as possible, given the limitations of the farm.
Sure. Yeah, and personally, I think that just my opinion is that the streaming would be a hot ticket commodity, because not just for the people who are familiar with the festival, but I've gotten into the jam band scene a little bit more in the past like 10, 20 years, and the nugs.net thing where, I mean, people just do the couch tour. They don't even think
Yeah.
about going to see it. They just say, hey, why do that when I can pay for it and watch it here at home? And I think that's a
Right.
great idea.
Right. And it's a comfort thing. It is one of those things that came out of COVID. We all realized that maybe not leaving the house every day wasn't so terrible. And that, you could pause and that you could go get snacks and stuff. So, it's a balance, and we are trying to keep that, because we do hear from folks from around the world that when we did offer it digitally in 2020 and 2021, we picked out fans from around the world. And I would hate for those people not to be able to continue to experience the festival. So it is something we're definitely working on for that exact reason.
That's great. That's great to hear. And hopefully that will continue to, get more people who will want to come to the festival after seeing it online, and seeing,
Right.
the incredible lineups that you have and the diversity from performer to performer and from day to day, which is pretty awesome. So we have 3 days of music, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then the Thursday night concert for the campers, which that is the show that I always look forward to. I say that you can't. I saw a young Sturgill Simpson there. I saw, speaking of Canada, the Sheepdogs from Saskatoon. I saw there
Yeah.
years ago. I saw, oh, now it escapes me. Oh, Molly Tuttle. I saw Molly Tuttle on the
Yes.
Thursday night stage years ago. And that is just, yeah, I make it a point to go to the Thursday night concert every year. And that's where you're going to, and the other aspect of it is the discovery aspect, like we kind of spoke about before, where it's like I will go from stage to stage. There are many how many, do you know how many stages there are? There's 7 stages.
7. Correct. Yes, 7. And at this point, I'm over 60 performers.
Wow.
So yeah, but it's a quality thing too. Like, these folks are, I just can't wait to see people's faces. It's hard for me to describe, because to me, everyone is amazing, right? Or else we would hire them. But each person, there's a specific reason why we hired them too. And it was important to me to have the diversity presented on the stage. And that was something that was started by the former artistic director, and it's something I agree with. I want everyone out in the audience to see themselves represented up on stage. So that is something that was really important. And I'm really excited with how it turned out. And speaking of the Thursday night stage, those are going to be mainly discoveries, except for folks around Boston who know the Adam Ezra group. Adam is performing. I'm bringing in a Canadian Miss Emily, who is a blues performer, who's going to be performing. And then also Shanna in a Dress. I don't know if you've heard of Shanna in a Dress,
No.
but think of perhaps a female version of Steve Cole.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's actually been touring with Steve. She is one of those people that, during the course of her set, you will laugh, you will cry, you will feel every single emotion and not even realize that her set's over, because that's how entertaining she is. He's really, everyone's going to enjoy.
That is amazing. And so
Yeah.
there are a lot of people. So people who are familiar with the festival are kind of familiar with the setup. You have the Thursday night concert, then we have the
Mm-hmm.
afternoon sessions and the evening sessions. Again, that's going to
Mm-hmm.
come back, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. The Martin stage on Friday is going to open. I think it's either 2 or 2:30 on Friday, and it's going to run until like 6:30 ish. Then we're going to have a dinner break. Then we're going to come back again. So the Martin stage is going to be fired up all day long, starting in the afternoon. Saturday it's going to start about 4:30, go till midnight. Sunday I think it's 3 or 3:30, and then it goes to about 9:30 or 10. So, we have so many people who deserve to be on the Martin stage. In fact, I wish we could do it for one more day so we could put everybody up there. But I can say that there will not be a stage you will be at. Well, you will be just because the folks that aren't on the Martin stage will also be performing on the camp stage or the lobby stage or the craft stage. And you'll see people on the Martin stage, then you'll see them on, in the culture tent the next day. So it's very much how folks who have been to the festival are used to having performers perform multiple times throughout the weekend.
Yes.
That's
And they're different too. They are different. They're total, like, people will perform on the Martin stage and then they'll do a set on the craft stage or on the camp stage or on the tank stage, and it'll be a totally different set or a totally different feel, whether it's a workshop, an in the round as some people call it,
Mhm.
or just that they're putting together a different set of songs and they just have a different, they just feel different that day. And I always like that kind of, and you get a little bit closer on those smaller stages. You get a little bit more intimate, which I think is really
Mhm.
cool. And you do get the opportunity. That's how, like I said, I saw Chris Matthews for the first time
Mhm.
because I wanted to see. It was either Steve or Dave, and I was watching them, taking photos of them, and then of course Chris Matthews caught my attention, and then she was a
Mhm.
guest on the podcast, and that is, I've found more artists and more musicians that way, by
Mhm.
attending those workshops than I have probably in all of my years of reading music magazines and even listening to stuff online. I think it's probably, for me, that is my favorite part of the festival, is who is going to be my new favorite band or my new favorite performer.
I love it. And I can't wait to talk to you afterwards, because that's how I look at it too. Um, I agree with you. I love the intimacy of the side stages, because you really feel like you are engaged completely with whoever's on stage and whoever's in the audience, right? But then at night, when you go to the Martin stage, then you also have that feeling of connection when you have so many voices singing in unison or enjoying the same experience at the same time. And that's something that, live music, you can never replace that. That feeling of, when everybody's doing the same thing together, that feeling of togetherness, community. I don't know, just something really magical about it, the shared experience that will last a lifetime. And that's what we're bringing back to the farm. That's the goal anyway, the spirit of the festival and all the wonderful ways that have inspired people in the past, but we're also trying to take it in a new direction. Not necessarily a new direction, but to continue rather to move it forward in the direction of presenting not only known performers, it's a perfect mix of old and new. We know you like these folks, but we bet you're going to like these folks. We know you like camping, so I bet you'd like to get there early. So we have a new Wednesday early pass. Like, we're just trying to play to our strengths here at the festival and double down on what it's been known for, which is amazing music, camping, and culture and family.
Yeah, and really a serendipitous experience that you're really not going to get anywhere else. And you had mentioned the heat before, and I can't tell you how many times that I've discovered artists by going over to the craft stage or the tank stage to get out of the sun, or going up to the culture tent or the lobby tent, and again just to get out of the sun and just try. And then you're experienced, you're exposed to a whole different band that you didn't even, you're looking in the program or looking online to see, who is this? I got to check this guy out. Or you learn how to line dance, or you learn how to concert
Yes.
dance, right? I mean, these were Or, you know, you make friends with a new friend in the beer tent, which I've made plenty of friends in the beer tent over the years, both in the rainy and the sun. You know, just trying to stay balanced at the festival, which I think is trying to stay on level ground at the festival is always a challenge for us who are up on
Yeah.
the hill.
I think staying on level ground in the festival is a challenge, no matter where you're. Um, yeah, that's a true state. That's a very true statement. Yeah, no, I mean, I could just like I was just thinking Windborn. I think they're going to do a workshop on harmonies all on their own, and I was just thinking, to your point, when I first heard Windborn, it was last year at Summerful, who is a festival that has their event the exact same weekend of Philly. So folks at Philly have never been to Summerfolk and vice versa. The only reason I was there last year was because we did not have a Philly. But anyway, Windborn, it was raining. Up there, they have a wine bar where they broadcast from the main stage into the wine bar. So you can sit there in the shade, drink wine, and watch what's going on the main stage. So I got stuck in that tent because it was raining and Windborn was performing, and that's who they were broadcasting in. And I ran through the rain to see them in person because their harmonies are so ridiculously amazing. That it's yeah. So I'm gonna shut up now because now I'm just waxing poetic on how great everybody is. But I'm really passionate about this, and I'm really excited for everyone to see who's going to be on the farm for the weekend. And for the performers too, it's the same type, I want people in the community to interact. I also thought of that when I was programming the performers. I want them to stay and collaborate with each other, because that's where the magic happens in the workshops, right? Like, hey, we were practicing this last night around a campfire. Let's do it today in the workshop and see how good. So these are the type of magical moments that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we kind of breezed through the crafters, but the crafting area is a big part of the festival as well. I think that some of the best crafters in the United States, if not the world, come out for this thing, which is pretty awesome. And in the past, there's been live demonstrations. I've seen glass blowing there, and I've seen crafters. I one year they had somebody making silk scarves, so you were able to like do your own scarf making and really cool stuff in the craft area that like gets it gets I feel like that is because it is a music festival after all. I think that does
Right.
get overlooked a little bit, but I think it's definitely an important part, and I don't think people go to the festival without walking through the craft area multiple times because it is so cool.
Yeah. Yes, no, you're absolutely right. And it is one of those things that I think because people get so focused on who's on the stages that they do forget that there's this whole other thing going on, which is the craft and food vendor. So this year, what we're going to do is we are going to share all of that information as far in advance as possible, which here I am 30 days out. So in other words, in the next week or two, Sean, I will have all the information from these vendors and I want to share it out in advance so people will know. I don't know about you, but I get super excited with food trucks. Like I
Yes.
will plan my entire day around what I'm going to eat. Like, like, oh, I'm going to eat or what, craft vendor I want to check out. So this will be populating on our website and on our social media. So everybody just follow us online or sign up for our newsletter, go to folkfest.org and watch for this information to be pushed out because we may be a little behind, but we are going to get that information out. It may be the day before the festival for some, and I'm being funny really. But we are getting the information out, as much as we possibly can. And I also have to give a shout out to my team of volunteers because for everyone who doesn't know, everyone is a volunteer. There are only 3 of us that are getting a salary. Everyone else is a volunteer. So all the things you see online, the website, that's done by a volunteer. You're part of that crowd, Sean. So I just want to thank everybody and acknowledge that, still, as we're putting this on, the volunteers are responsible mainly for making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had mentioned before that the community comes out for this thing. I had mentioned the Lions Club. I think it's the I'm probably going to get it wrong, but I think it was the Upper Salford Volunteer Fire Company that always has a food stand there. And they are wonderful and always both the Lions and the fire company have Gatorade, which is important on the hot days
Mm.
for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And the food trucks, I am a definitely a frequent offender when it comes to Humpty's dumplings. They were at the festival for years, and I think that I lived off Humpty's dumplings for 3 weekends at least that they were at the festival, and I always looked forward to it too because they are wonderful. And I also have to
Mm.
mention that I think it's the Lower Frederick Fire Company has a pancake breakfast, or I'm pretty sure they still do. They did for years, and the last time I was there, and they so maybe we can break some news to people. Do you know, are we still going to do the wagon ride from the campground to the pancake breakfast? Are they still doing a pancake breakfast? It's been
There,
so many
there has,
years.
yeah, there has been talk. I'm going to have to get back to you on that because many things have happened since that conversation. We talked to, it's the Upper Salford Township supervisors who we meet with and talk to. So thank you for reminding me about that. I'm going to have to tag back to them because that is something else that I want to message out to people. Don't forget there's pancakes. Don't forget the French fry truck. And, you're supporting a good cause, that kind of thing. So thank you for reminding me, Sean. This is
Yes,
how we're rolling this year. This is how we're rolling, okay?
it's
We're
it
getting it all done.
it's definitely it's definitely a community effort, and it's great to see. It is just great to see the people, the local people who come out for the festival, and all of the local organizations that come out to support. I mean, obviously, you see the professionals, the firemen, the police officers who are on site and make their presence known. But it is those you might overlook that it's like, oh yeah, this is just the fire company that's right here, and this is one of their biggest fundraisers. I know the pancake breakfast, it was their biggest fundraiser of the year, I think,
Mhm.
every year. And I,
Yeah.
again, frequent offender when it comes to I love pancakes and folk music. I know they just go to bed, they go together. And there's nothing better than getting that carved up base first thing in the morning and then trudging up the hill to sit in the sun and listen to some awesome music. So I think, yeah, that definitely for me personally, two of my top picks, or three of my top picks, with the Lions, the fire company in the festival, and then the pancake breakfast.
Yeah. I'm with you. I will be with you on that schedule, on that food schedule. But yeah, all of that information I will be messaging out to people. It's all getting confirmed right now. Contracts are going out to the vendors. And then once they sign it and give me their assets, then I can send all the information. So, again, keep checking our website's changing every day with new information coming out. And the fun thing about this, Sean, is that a lot of this information, since it changes every year, we didn't have any record of it. So we're building it all from scratch, right? So, everything is fresh, shiny, and new, which to me is really exciting. Yeah. So here we go. We're heading to the farm.
That's great. That's great. Is there anything new that that you didn't get a chance to talk about that you wanted to mention?
Um, I think, the new, there is something really fun that we're doing here. We're doing a workshop where it is, I'm not sure we're going to call it a family affair, but what the general concept is that families who have grown up at the folk festival will be performing with their parents, aunts, uncles. It's basically, did you learn to play or sing at the Philly Folk Fest? If so, we're putting them on stage, and the families are all going to talk about the songs that they learned, just stories of the festival, which I think is going to be really a really lovely way to celebrate the 61st year and the fact that it's back by putting folks who have been there for decades and learned how to sing and appreciate folk music.
Oh, and literally putting them center stage. That is really cool.
Yes, like Miles, our board president, will be there with his daughters.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a really fun stage. But that's just one of many new things. An ode to the old and the new. Things that we're trying to present at the festival to accommodate, everyone who's been before and new people that we're welcoming in. And so yeah, everybody's welcome, and we can't wait to see everybody.
That's fantastic. I can't believe it seems like it's forever away, but a month is definitely not a lot of time. I know that I need to get my tent ready and get everything out, get all my festival gear, make sure that I have my banjo flag It's nice and pressed and ready for the weekend, and also bring my rain gear just in case.
Yes. Well, we actually have the Gene Shea chant, and he would do these on the radio, and we have them scheduled on our YouTube channel. So anyone who is used to doing the anti-rain chant with Gene Shea, those will be on our YouTube channel. That is something new. Trish has pulled that for us. So, if you want to participate in that, please do. Yeah, wanted to share that with you, Sean, because that's important.
Oh, that's great. That's really great to hear. And speaking of the late great Gene Shea, he was such an amazing presence. The jokes, I'll never forget some of those jokes. Now, have you announced who the host is this year? I know I saw a familiar name, John Flynn, on the program. Is he going to be doing some hosting duty again?
To be honest, we haven't reached out to people to MC yet. We've got a couple that we've been talking to, but we haven't firmed any of those plans up yet. Because we're a little behind, Sean.
No, this is folk. You're on festival time now.
Perfect. That's exactly it. We're on fest time. Yeah, it's one of those. I didn't need to know anything until right now. We're on time.
Wonderful. Well, Kimberly, before I let you go, I ask the same 3 questions to every guest. I can't let you go without, and we'll learn a little bit more about you. What was the first album that you ever received as a gift, or that you went out and bought yourself?
Gosh, that's a tough question. I can't remember the first one, but I do remember having AC/DC Back in Black on vinyl.
Wow, that's exactly what I would have thought of for the artistic and marketing director for the folk festival. AC/DC Back in Black. That was the top of my list.
Oh, it's gonna get better. How about I tell you the posters on my wall? This will probably explain it all. Stevie Nicks was one poster.
I just saw her.
Yeah. Oh gosh, love. And Adam Ant.
Wow.
So I was exactly in the 80s between, cassette, not cassette decks, tape decks, 8-track, tracks and singles, because I remember saving pennies from babysitting to go buy a single version of Madonna's Like a Prayer. Does this help?
Absolutely. Oh, that's amazing.
I know. Strange.
And now, do you remember what your first concert was?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Journey. I was 13 years old. My mother took me. She also had to take my little brother, too. He was 8. I didn't like that. But she dropped me off and disappeared. But yeah, it was Journey.
Now, and where was that?
That would have been in Louisville. So it would have been maybe Freedom Hall, I think, in Louisville. Or the Kentucky Fairground.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah. I know, memory.
Now, besides the sibling drama, do you any memorable things from that concert?
Journey? Oh, I got a T-shirt.
Oh, do you still have it? That's a collector's item.
Wouldn't that have been cool? I did one time wait outside the tour bus for Lyle Lovett to sign my T-shirt because I was a huge Lyle Lovett fan. And then my husband and I, when I was at university, we happened to the Ramones at a local club. And the great part about catching the Ramones is the speakers were as big as the room. And believe it or not, the speaker caught on fire. That's how hard they were jamming. The Ramones,
wow.
The 10-foot tall speaker caught on fire. No one got hurt. They put it out. But it was just one of those things like, if you read it in a book, you wouldn't believe it. I saw the Ramones and the speaker caught on fire. It's like, no, it actually happened. So I have some really fun music stories, but those are the ones I remember as a kid. And one of the best shows I ever saw was at Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati, where it was the B-52s and was it Depeche Mode? Yeah, great. I know, Gabe and Dave Finn. I know, so good. I was an 80s girl, so I'm a Gen X. So we had these opportunities to see all these folks. It was great.
Wow, that is amazing. So last question, and I'm sure that with all of your years in the music business, I'm sure that there are many stories that are fit for the podcast and maybe some that aren't. So I hate that this is my last question, but I'll preface it in saying, this is my last question for now. I think that I need to have you back on to just talk about your journey a little bit more because it seems like and from what I know, it is a pretty incredible journey.
It's been fun.
From the eastern seaboard of Canada, and you're now down in Nashville. Is that where you're at?
I'm in Kentucky. I'm in Berea, Kentucky,
Wow.
which is the center of old time and traditional music in the United States. Berea, Kentucky. Yeah, got a cool story. Check it out.
Wow. Yeah, I knew it was a musical. I knew you were in one of the music hubs of America, which is pretty. I wouldn't have put you in any other place. So last question. What is your favorite soundtrack or score from a movie? And musicals don't count. So soundtrack or score from a movie.
Oh, that's so easy. I'm not even going to blink. Valley Girl.
Wow.
And it's controversial. It's controversial because it actually didn't happen because they couldn't get the rights by all the performers. So the soundtrack didn't come out until years and years and years later. So me being the good Gen Xer kid that I was, who had a cassette deck, I would sit in front of the radio or the movie Valley Girl, take the music from the TV onto my portable cassette player so I would have Girls Like You and could play it whenever I wanted.
You are, I mean, you are a diehard music fan if there ever. I remember recording from the speaker on the radio as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, remember that? Well, it's funny because my kid, remember the Technique? Or was it the Maxwell? It was the ad where the guy sitting in front of the huge speakers.
That was the Maxwell. Yeah.
Maxwell. Thank you. My son just saw that. He's like, oh, man, we can dream. And I was like, are you kidding me? That was my life, kid. You know, like, that's how I grew up. We had all those speakers. Remember, speakers were huge. Now they're tiny. But I was like, no, they were math, kid. So the pendulum always swings, right? Here's my prediction. Speakers will get bigger since they're now small. The big ones are coming back. You heard it here first.
I believe it.
Getting around. Son, it's so much fun to talk to you. Was that my last question?
That was the last question. Yeah, that was it. So, Kimberly, thank you so much. Wow. Good luck with wrapping up everything for the festival. And I will see you on the Hill in about a month. So, happy fest.
Thank you, Sean. Happy fest to you. And I can't wait to see everybody there on the Hill. And if anybody needs anything, just go to folkfest.org.
I don't think anyone wants to hear about football/soccer.
Oh, man, I'm stoked. I'm in the parking lot of a 7-Eleven in El Cajon, California. Man, these are great questions.
I think the answers are probably better.